In the spring of 2023, a hiker stumbled upon something that would forever change the quiet mountain town of Oak Valley, Wyoming. Deep in the dense forest, partially buried beneath fallen pine needles and scattered leaves, lay the remains of 18-year-old Emily Dawson. She had been missing for 3 weeks. The community had searched tirelessly, holding candlelight vigils and plastering her photograph on every storefront window. But the man leading that search, the respected sheriff who organized the volunteer efforts, who comforted Emily's grieving grandmother, who stood before news cameras pleading for information, was the same man who had put her in that shallow grave. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next chilling tales. For 20 years, Sheriff James Turner had been Oak Valley's golden boy, a dedicated public servant, a devoted family man, a pillar of the community. His campaign slogan read, "Integrity, service, community," and residents believed every word. They trusted him with their safety, their secrets, their most vulnerable citizens. In Oak Valley, Wyoming, everyone thought they knew Sheriff James Turner. They were dead wrong. The discovery of Emily's body would expose a web of manipulation, abuse, and betrayal that reached the highest levels of law enforcement. It would reveal how a man with a badge had systematically groomed a vulnerable teenager, exploited her trust, and when she became inconvenient to his carefully constructed life, eliminated her with the same calculated precision he once used to solve crimes. This isn't just another true crime story. This is a disturbing reality of how predators hide behind authority, how they weaponize respect and trust to destroy innocent lives. This is a story of how a badge became a weapon and how trust became a trap. Before we examine this chilling case, hit that subscribe button. Cases like this remind us why we need to stay informed about the predators hiding in plain sight. Knowledge is our best defense against those who would abuse their power. The James Turner case exposes uncomfortable truths about the people we're taught to trust without question. It shows us how easily a community can be deceived, how quickly a hero can become a monster, and how the most dangerous predators are often the ones wearing uniforms. What you're about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about the thin blue line. It will show you that sometimes a call is coming from inside the house. And it will prove that in Oak Valley, Wyoming, the biggest threat to public safety wasn't lurking in the shadows. It was sitting behind the sheriff's desk. At 42 years old, James Turner embodied everything Oak Valley, Wyoming, wanted in a sheriff. Standing 6 foot tall with graying temples and a firm handshake, he commanded respect the moment he entered any room. His uniform was always pressed, his boots polished to a mirror shine, and his badge gleamed like a symbol of unwavering justice. Oak Valley itself seemed designed for someone like Turner. Nestled between towering Rocky Mountain peaks and surrounded by endless pine forests, this town of 8,500 residents thrived on tourist dollars during ski season and maintained its Norman Rockwell charm year-round. Main Street featured family-owned businesses that had operated for generations. The local diner served coffee and ceramic mugs, and everyone knew their neighbors' names. Crime here was predictable and manageable. Drunk tourists during peak season, occasional domestic disputes, teenagers spray painting water towers. The kind of problems that made residents feel safe, secure in their belief that real danger existed somewhere else, in big cities, in places where people didn't look out for each other. Turner had built his reputation methodically over 2 decades. Starting as a patrol officer, fresh out of the police academy, he worked every holiday, volunteered for overtime, and treated every case, no matter how small, with professional dedication. His colleagues respected his thoroughness. His superiors appreciated his reliability. Citizens trusted his judgment. The sheriff's personal life appeared equally spotless. Married to Claire, his high school sweetheart, for 18 years. Father to twin boys who played Little League Baseball. Active member of St. Mark's Lutheran Church, where he ushered every Sunday and helped organize the annual charity drive. His campaign posters from the previous election still decorated storefront windows. Turner's integrity, service, community. During election season, Turner had walked door to door shaking hands and making promises. He spoke passionately about protecting Oak Valley's values, about keeping their children safe, about maintaining the trust between law enforcement and the community. Voters believed every word because his actions had always matched his rhetoric. But here's what most people don't understand about predators. They don't look like monsters. They look like the person you'd want your daughter to marry, the neighbor who helps with your groceries, the authority figure who makes you feel protected. The most dangerous predators are master manipulators who understand that respectability is the perfect camouflage. Red flags aren't always obvious. Sometimes they're hidden behind badges and smiles. We're conditioned to trust authority figures without question, to assume that someone who swore an oath to protect and serve couldn't possibly be the threat we should fear most. In Oak Valley, everyone knew everyone else's business, or so they believed. James Turner had mastered the art of hiding his darkest impulses behind a facade of community service and family values. While residents felt safe knowing their sheriff was watching over them, they had no idea what or who he was really watching. The perfect predator doesn't break into your home. He's already inside wearing a uniform that commands respect and carrying keys to every door in town. 17-year-old Emily Dawson arrived in Oak Valley carrying more pain than most adults could handle. Just 6 months earlier, she had found her mother unconscious on the bathroom floor of their Denver apartment, needles still in her arm. The paramedics tried for 20 minutes, but Maria Dawson was gone, another casualty in the city's losing battle against addiction. Emily's world collapsed that day. She had no father in her life, no siblings, no support system beyond her grandmother, Helen, who drove from Oak Valley to collect the traumatized teenager and bring her to what she hoped would be safety and stability. The transition proved brutal. Denver's urban chaos had at least been familiar. The noise, the crowds, the constant movement that matched the turmoil in her heart. Oak Valley felt suffocating. Everyone stared at the new girl with the thick accent and second-hand clothes. Teachers whispered about her situation. Classmates kept their distance from the troubled kid whose mother had died from drugs. Helen Dawson worked double shifts at Oak Valley Diner, serving coffee and comfort food to tourists and locals alike. She left for work at 5 a.m. and didn't return until nearly midnight, leaving Emily alone in their cramped trailer on the outskirts of town. The isolation was complete. No friends, no family present. No one to notice when depression settled over her like a heavy blanket. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Emily's grades plummeted. She stopped attending school regularly, spent days in bed, and occasionally drove without a license just to feel some sense of control over her life. It was during one of these reckless drives that she first encountered Sheriff James Turner. The traffic stop should have been routine. Turner pulled over the beat-up Honda Civic for weaving slightly across the center line. When he approached the driver's window and saw a young Latina girl with tears streaming down her face, he could have written a ticket and moved on. Instead, he saw opportunity. "You okay, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice gentle and concerned. Emily broke down completely, sobbing about her mother, her loneliness, her fear of getting in trouble. Turner listened with practiced patience, occasionally offering tissues and words of comfort. When she admitted she didn't have a license, he could have arrested her. Instead, he chose mercy. "I'm not going to ticket you today," he said, handing back her identification. "But I want to help you get properly licensed. Can't have you driving around illegally. It's dangerous for everyone." To Helen Dawson, this felt like divine intervention, a respected sheriff looking out for her troubled granddaughter, an authority figure willing to help instead of punish. She thanked Turner repeatedly when he stopped by their trailer that evening, praising his kindness and dedication to the community. Emily felt something she hadn't experienced since her mother's death. Hope. Here was a strong, respected man who seemed to genuinely care about her welfare. Someone who had the power to make her life better or worse, and had chosen kindness. Predators have an uncanny ability to identify vulnerable targets. They look for isolation, trauma, and desperation. They seek out individuals who lack strong support systems, who crave attention and guidance, who won't be immediately missed if they disappear. Warning signs of grooming often begin with excessive kindness from authority figures, especially when that attention feels like rescue to someone drowning in pain. What happened next followed a predictable pattern that experts in predatory behavior know all too well. James Turner didn't immediately reveal his true intentions. Instead, he began a calculated campaign of manipulation that would span several months, each step designed to isolate Emily further while positioning himself as her savior. The helpful visits started innocently enough. Turner would stop by the Dawson trailer after his shifts, always with a plausible reason. He brought pamphlets about driver's education courses. He offered to help Emily with her school enrollment paperwork. He even arranged for her to receive free counseling sessions through a county program, presenting himself as a caring public servant, going above and beyond for a struggling citizen. Helen Dawson felt grateful beyond words. Here was a share of himself, taking personal interest in her granddaughter's well-being. When Turner suggested that Emily might benefit from having a positive male role model, Helen agreed enthusiastically. She worked such long hours that she barely saw her granddaughter, and the guilt was eating her alive. The gift started small: a used textbook for her math class, a gift card to the local clothing store, a cell phone for emergencies, which Turner claimed was standard procedure for at-risk youth in the community. Each gesture seemed thoughtful, appropriate, and motivated by genuine concern, but the phone served a darker purpose. Turner began texting Emily daily, initially with encouraging messages about her progress in school and driving lessons. The conversations gradually became more personal. He asked about her feelings, her fears, her dreams for the future. He shared carefully selected details about his own life, his demanding job, his stress, his occasional loneliness even within his marriage. This false intimacy is a hallmark of predatory behavior. By sharing seemingly personal information, Turner created an artificial sense of closeness and trust. Emily began to feel special, chosen, important to someone who held real power in her community. The grieving teenager, starved for meaningful connection, eagerly reciprocated with her own secrets and vulnerabilities. The manipulation intensified when Turner began positioning himself as the only person who truly understood her pain. He spoke knowingly about loss, about feeling like an outsider, about the weight of expectations. He convinced Emily that others in Oak Valley looked down on her because of her mother's addiction and her family's financial struggles. Only he saw her true worth, he insisted. Only he could help her reach her potential. Please, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Isolation tactics became more sophisticated. Turner subtly discouraged Emily from making friends at school, suggesting that teenage relationships were superficial and that she was too mature for such childish pursuits. He criticized her grandmother's parenting style, implying that Helen didn't truly understand what Emily needed. He even arranged for Emily to ride along during some of his patrol shifts, claiming it would help her understand law enforcement and possibly inspire a career path. These ride-alongs served multiple purposes. They gave Turner uninterrupted time with Emily, while appearing completely professional to outside observers. They also demonstrated his authority and control over her environment. In the patrol car, he was literally in the driver's seat, deciding where they went and what they talked about. The boundary erosion happened so gradually that Emily barely noticed. Turner began touching her shoulder during conversations, supposedly for comfort. He started calling her sweetheart and beautiful, claiming these were just friendly terms of endearment. He suggested that their relationship was special and unique, something that others might not understand or appreciate. This manipulation is textbook predatory behavior. Turner understood that Emily's recent trauma had left her desperate for stability and guidance. By positioning himself as her protector and confidant, he was filling a void that made her increasingly dependent on his approval and presence. The power dynamics made escape nearly impossible, even as warning bells began ringing in Emily's subconscious. How could she complain about the sheriff's behavior when he had been nothing but helpful? Who would believe her concerns about a respected law enforcement officer? What would happen to her grandmother's job if she caused trouble for Oak Valley's most important public figure? By winter, Turner had successfully isolated Emily from potential support systems while making himself indispensable to her emotional well-being. The trap was set, and the prey was ready to be caught. James Turner waited with calculated patience for one specific date, February 12, 2023, Emily Dawson's 18th birthday. The moment she legally became an adult, the predator who had spent months grooming her finally revealed his true intentions. The timing wasn't coincidental. Turner understood the legal implications of his actions and had structured his manipulation to avoid statutory charges. But legal technicalities couldn't erase the fundamental truth. This was a relationship built on months of psychological manipulation, power imbalance, and exploitation of a vulnerable teenager's trauma. The physical relationship began in the most calculated way possible. Turner convinced Emily that their connection was special, that what they felt for each other transcended normal social boundaries. He painted their situation as a love story that others simply wouldn't understand. Age was just a number, he insisted. What mattered was their deep emotional bond. Secrecy became paramount, and Turner used every tool of his law enforcement training to maintain it. He knew which roads had no surveillance cameras, which locations were never patrolled by other officers, and how to manipulate duty schedules to create opportunities. 20 years of police work had taught him how to avoid detection. Now, he used that knowledge to hide his crimes. The patrol car became their primary meeting place. During those first weeks, Turner would pick up Emily under the guise of routine community outreach, driving to secluded areas where they could be alone. The vehicle that symbolized protection and safety for Oak Valley residents became a prison for a confused and manipulated young woman. Later, Turner gained access to the evidence room at the sheriff's department after hours. The irony was sickening. The space designed to preserve justice became a location for ongoing injustice. He also had keys to a hunting cabin owned by the county, used occasionally for official retreats. This remote location, surrounded by dense forest and accessible only by a dirt road, offered complete privacy for his exploitation. From Emily's perspective, the relationship felt like salvation and confusion wrapped together. She genuinely believed she was in love with James Turner, the man who had rescued her from her lowest point, who had shown her kindness when nobody else cared, who had made her feel valued and special. Her traumatized mind couldn't distinguish between manipulation and genuine affection. The teenager who had lost her mother, her home, and her sense of belonging now felt chosen by someone important and powerful. Turner reinforced this feeling constantly, telling her she was mature beyond her years, that she understood him in ways his wife never could, that their connection was deeper than ordinary relationships. But the web was tightening with each encounter. The deeper Emily became involved, the harder escape became. Turner began taking photographs during their encounters, claiming they were romantic mementos. In reality, these images became tools of control. He could destroy her reputation, her future, her relationship with her grandmother if she ever tried to leave or expose him. The psychological prison of manipulation is nearly impossible to escape without outside help. Abusers justify their actions by convincing victims that they're willing participants in something beautiful and special. They create alternate realities where exploitation feels like love, where control feels like protection, where isolation feels like intimacy. Meanwhile, the public sheriff Turner continued his charade flawlessly. He attended church services with his wife and sons, spoke at school assemblies about making good choices, and maintained his reputation as Oak Valley's most dedicated public servant. The contrast between his public persona and private predatory behavior was staggering. Every move was calculated, every risk assessed and minimized. Turner believed he had created the perfect crime, an ongoing violation hidden behind legal technicalities, community respect, and a victim too traumatized and manipulated to recognize her own exploitation. The phone call came on a cold February morning, just 3 weeks after Emily's 18th birthday. Her voice trembled as she spoke the words that would shatter James Turner's carefully constructed world. "I'm pregnant." Emily had taken the test in the cramped bathroom of her grandmother's trailer, hands shaking as she watched the pink lines appear. For a moment, she felt something she hadn't experienced since her mother's death. Pure joy. She and Turner were going to have a baby. This pregnancy would force him to leave his wife, to make their relationship public, to build the family she had always dreamed of having. In her naive 18-year-old mind, this was the answer to everything. No more secrecy, no more hiding, no more feeling like she was stealing moments from someone else's life. The baby would prove that what they had was real, legitimate, worth fighting for. James Turner's reaction was the polar opposite of what Emily expected. The color drained from his face as he processed the magnitude of this disaster. Everything he had worked for, his career, his reputation, his marriage, his standing in the community was suddenly at risk, because of one careless moment. The caring mentor who had spent months positioning himself as Emily's protector vanished instantly. In his place stood a desperate man facing the destruction of his entire life. His voice turned cold and calculating as he outlined what needed to happen next. "You have to take care of this," he said, his words cutting through Emily's dreams like a blade. "There are clinics in Denver. I'll pay for it. This never happened." But Emily refused. This baby represented hope, love, and the future she had been promised. She wouldn't destroy the one good thing that had come from their relationship. She wanted to keep the child and raise it together as a family. The ultimatum was delivered with the authority of a man accustomed to having his orders followed. Get rid of the pregnancy or face the consequences. Turner outlined exactly what those consequences would look like. Exposure of their relationship, social destruction, her grandmother losing her job, possible charges for interfering with a police investigation. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Turner faced losing his $85,000 annual salary, his pension, his marriage to Claire, his relationship with his twin sons, and his reputation as Oak Valley's most respected law enforcement officer. A scandal involving a teenage girl would destroy everything he had built over 2 decades. Her choice was clear, but the path forward was anything but. What did she decide? Find out in the part 2 of this story.